So Cuba Gooding Jr. went from being Hollywood's darling boy to being on every director's blacklist. And it looks like things aren't about to change for him anytime soon because he is in a deep mess. But how did things get so bad for him and who is he blaming for his bad luck? Well, y'all better watch until the end because this is gonna be one heck of a ride. So when we talk about grace to grass stories in Hollywood, it's kind of hard not to talk about Cuba Gooding Jr. Cuba was a pretty big name in Hollywood in the 1990s and he was set to become one of the biggest black actors of his generation. When I say biggest, I mean that because he was hanging out with the big names in the business like Denzel Washington and even Quincy Jones. He became even hotter when he won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for his role in the 1996 movie Jerry Maguire. There were also some talks about how he didn't deserve the Oscar because there were other movies with actors that deserved him more. But he won the Oscar, and if y'all know anything about the Oscars, then you're going to know that winning an Oscar is one of the highest honors in movies, and it usually means that you've set your place in the acting world. It comes with a lot of honor because it's pretty exclusive, and that's why so many top actors still chase the award even though they've made hundreds of millions off of their movies. Apart from the whole honor thing, there's also the fact that being an Oscar winner puts you in an elite group of actors, and you can charge more money for the movie roles, and in some cases, some actors are able to negotiate almost double their old charges just because they won an Oscar. And to be black and win an Oscar in the 90s was a big deal because not many black actors were getting them. So you can understand what I mean when I say that he became an even bigger deal when he won the Oscar. When actors win Oscars, they usually start living their best lives, but the reverse was the case for Cuba because his life and career soon started going down not long after his Oscar win. Now, when you see actors come out and talk about how they were so blessed to be doing what they love and making millions from it, they're not telling the truth. Well, not the entire truth at least. I'm not saying that they don't love what they do or anything like that. I'm just saying that they have to be strategic with their career and how they pick jobs and stuff like that. And this is where Cuba made his first mistake. After his Oscar, Cuba felt like he could start being more selective with the roles he accepted, which was partially true. But interestingly enough, this was when he got an important piece of advice from a friend, director Cameron Crowe, who advised him to not only work with good directors and try to maintain a good standing with those directors and producers alike, because that was going to help him to stay at the top. But Cuba Gooding Jr. said no way was he listening to Cameron, and he decided to do things his own way. But unfortunately for him, doing things his own way was the worst decision that he could have ever made in his career, and that was how he started ruining everything he worked for. After his Oscar win, he was flooded with lots of roles to pick from, and he decided to take his time to pick and choose what he wanted to do. He was living the life, but he made all the wrong decisions and turned down leading roles in movies like Hotel Rwanda, Amistad, Collateral, and many others, and he was even offered the lead role in the hit movie The Last King of Scotland. According to sources, he turned down that role because he thought that the character was a bad guy, and he didn't want to play a bad guy because he was a good guy. Yeah, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it somehow made sense to Cuba, and he turned down the role. The role then went to Forest Whitaker, who won an Oscar for the movie. If Cuba hadn't been so obsessed with being Mr. Good Guy, he would have probably won his second Oscar. But well, that's all water down the drain now. At this point, he was no longer getting offered so many roles because many directors were getting tired of getting turned down. They were tired of his BS and they turned their attention to other actors who were just as talented and had less of a diva attitude. But interestingly, Cuba himself has admitted to messing things up for himself by being too selective. In an interview with The Guardian, he said, "I had all these big directors offering me roles and I read their scripts and said, I don't think this part is right for me. And what happens is if you offend enough big directors, you get taken off their list." So that's the first step on how he went from being a Hollywood darling to being broke. At his peak, he bought houses for his mom and his wife's mom, and he bought himself and his wife expensive cars, was flying around in private jets, and was just living the life. But then life says psych, and he went broke almost as quickly as he became rich. In the same interview, he admitted that he had got carried away by his Oscar, saying, "For me, it was always about protecting the sanctity of that golden statue because I felt I needed to show people that I can do more. I could do better." He realized that the sanctity of the Oscar wasn't paying the bills or buying fancy cars, so he finally started taking roles. The only nice thing about this is that he was getting paid and he wasn't looking for prestige anymore because he wasn't getting any prestige. The movies were mostly bad and his performance didn't receive praise. Now don't even get me started on the disaster that was the 2002 movie Boat Trip. So for the next couple of years, he continued struggling. But then life did him a solid in 2016 and he landed the role of O.J. Simpson in the limited crime series American Crime Story: The People vs. O.J. Simpson. Things started picking up for him gradually from there, and he even got nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actor in a mini-series or movie. But just when he started climbing out of the Hollywood blacklist that he had been in for more than 10 years, things went went wrong again because he was accused by several women of being creepy, if you know what I mean. Okay, so here's what happened. In 2014, his wife of 20 years, Sarah, filed for legal separation from him, and while she never really said anything publicly about the reason for divorce, there were speculations that she had finally gotten tired of being cheated on by Cuba. Some anonymous sources claim that he had started cheating on his wife pretty early in the marriage because he had slept with a cocktail waitress named Elise Lamont only 3 days after getting married. Listen, the streets were calling him because how on earth did he think it was okay for him to cheat on his bride after only 3 days? No, he was dead wrong for that. He also had an affair with the actress Jeanette Carr for a while. Even though Jeanette claimed that she didn't know that he was married, she claimed that he told her that he and his wife were about to get a divorce and she never meant to date a married man. Now that's the oldest trick in the book, but Jeanette fell for it for more than a year. After his wife left him, that's when the bad behavior got worse. Now you would think that he would rein things in at that point, but he truly let loose when he became separated. He got accused of being creepy towards several women, and to date, he has had more than 30 allegations levied against him. That's 30 different women, and that's those who spoke up. I'm not saying he did it or that he didn't do it, because y'all know that we don't like to speak on legal matters like this, but with 30 allegations, it doesn't exactly scream innocent. But according to reports, he once randomly kissed a woman in a hotel in Miami after he was photographed shirtless in a nightclub the previous night. One of his victims spoke about her encounter with him, saying, "At about midnight on March 1st, Cuba Gooding Jr. waltzed into the bar where we were at and proceeded to harass a number of women there and punched a man for attempting to take a picture of Cuba receiving a lap dance." The harassment occurred when women would be taking pictures with him. He would grab butt cheeks during the picture taking, and when the women reacted negatively to that, he would proceed to either touch women's breasts or tell them that he loved them. He told me that he loved me because his wife's name is also Sarah. Yeah, this doesn't seem like a Mr. Good guy after all. There's also a video posted by TMZ where we see him touching a woman in what looks like a bar or something. We clearly see him touch her chest, and she definitely didn't consent to this because she came forward to accuse him a few days after this. He had several other accusations and he was arrested in 2019. I'm sure y'all remember the video from his arrest because it went viral and quickly became a meme. But earlier this year, he took a plea deal so that he could avoid going to prison because we all know that he's not tough enough for prison. He agreed to plead guilty in exchange for his conviction being reduced to a violation. He has also been called out on social media, with many people calling him a creep. Like this person that recounted an encounter with him saying, "My roomies met Cuba Gooding Jr. at a bar in Charleston circa 2003-2004 when he was filming something there. They said he was a gropey creep. I stopped liking him back then after that. It doesn't surprise me at all seeing him plead guilty." Another person tweeted, "Cuba Gooding Jr. been a creep to me since Boys in the Hood. I already knew something was off with that man." And this other person said, "Cuba Gooding Jr. is that creep who always asks where his hug is at and tries to separate you from your friends when you're out. What an absolute piece of S." Okay, I know this has all been bad, but it gets worse because Cuba's lawyer tried to defend his behavior, saying, "He's very outgoing, he's very friendly, he's very jovial. I guess the word is sometimes he's frisky, but he's not inappropriate." Now I know he's getting paid to defend Cuba, but I'm gonna need this man to take several seats. So I guess we can say that things went left after he won the Oscar, but he was lucky enough to get a second chance, but then he messed that up too. And the only thing that he has going for him is that he's not going to jail for being a creep. His career is pretty much over at this point, and he has only himself to blame because the odds of him making a third comeback are slim to none, but it's possible. But anywho, y'all go ahead and check out this other video because I know you're gonna love it.